Good morning, wherever you are. It's good morning here. Happy Friday. You know what? It is the last day of July, uh, and I always love the last day of the month because it's just a wonderful time to look back at the month and see what July was about for you, and then to spend a little time thinking about what August may be like for you. And do you have any intentions you want to revisit or things you might want to accomplish in the month? I'm not a huge goal setter, so to speak, because I feel like that kind of takes us out of the flow sometimes and just trusting in the universe. It's nice to have things out there for sure. Um, but anyway, that last day of the month, right before the first day of the next month, is a wonderful time to give yourself to reflect a little bit. So, good morning, all of you joining in. It's great to see you. I've got several questions today, and so we're just going to hop in. First of all, I do want to welcome you to the Akashic Salon, where we gather with others that are spiritually curious and we have thoughtful conversations. And you have to know that's because of your questions and what you are bringing forth. Let's see here. So when you ask your questions, just a little reminder to be as specific as you can. I'm not going to answer things like, what do my guides want me to know today? When we get specific, it really helps all of us here in this collective. We can hone in on more information, I would say, with more precision, and that really serves all of us when we do that. So also want to remind you that I have a Substack, and I have not written there in a while because I've been working on finishing my book. However, I do have some things to post in there soon, and that's really, the Substack's called the Psychic Salon, and that's where I put what I call my more woo-woo stories. Well, just things that come up in readings or information from clients, things that come through in dreams. It's just a little more maybe ethereal, spiritual, a little different than the newsletters. And also, if you like the show, please hit like, share if you want to. If you find this valuable and you think others would too. And then what else here? What was I going to say? And I do put up a Substack. Okay. And then for those of you that feel like you want to show gratuity for the program, that's lovely. I'm not doing this for the money by any means. I'm doing this because I love it and I love sharing with you. I love the information that is coming through. But someone that did ask me to put a gratuity button on the channel, so I do have that if you're interested. And then with that, I'm going to read the prayer. Good morning, everyone. And then we'll jump in. Oh, guess who's coming? Come on, Poppy. Yeah, come on. Come on. I don't know if y'all could hear her. Hang on here. Oh, we're going to get you situated. Okay. Okay. All right. I ask God if He will have His shield of love and truth around you permanently, so only God's love and truth will exist between you and me. I allow the masters, teachers, and loved ones of you to channel through me out of whatever realm to say whatever they wish. I ask the permission of the Lords of the Akashic Records, so I'm able to look into the records of you and remove whatever information I'm allowed. Okay. Okay. Gosh, you know what? It's so interesting. I think it was last week that somebody asked about preparing, kind of like when COVID happened and supplies were really running low, at the stores. And someone had asked, they had remembered that the guides had said it was important to keep things on hand, keep supplies there. Wasn't an invitation to make a mad dash out. And I don't know if y'all saw on the news yesterday, and y'all forgive me, Iran, Iraq, I'm not sure, compromised the water supply in some areas, or at least showed signs of it. I know some water systems were shut down, and gosh, that really caught me because I was like, wow, um, is everybody gonna in that area make a mad dash out to get water? I don't know, but it did make me think of that question, and the guide said yes, it is still important. And so just a little nod to that, and the guides are asking me to remind you, you know, if you have time this weekend, it probably would be helpful to get a few things on hand, necessities like that, because we don't know what's going to happen. That's a interesting, uh, uh, you know, mm, what they're saying is, warfare is different today. And attacking a water system like that is something we probably wouldn't have ever encountered back in the, way past. But today things are very different. And so think of those things. And even if something intuitively comes to your mind that you want to have on hand, um, then just follow that, inner guidance or that nudge to do so. Okay, let's see here. Oh, you know what? So I'm going to be in Birmingham, Alabama next week. I'll be at the Homewood Public Library. So that's on Tuesday at 2 p.m. So it'll be Central Time. There is a Zoom link if y'all want to join from anywhere you are. But I'm going to be talking about past lives. And actually, I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I'm going to guide everyone into an experience um, with past lives, and then we'll get into discussions. But I'm also bringing a card deck of archetypes because, and I don't know if y'all are familiar with archetypes. I would assume you are, and I'm going to show you today. But archetypes, when we look at them, we've probably had a past life as one of them, and we have all these different archetypes in us, and they are things like the performer or the recluse, or the perfectionist could be an archetype, or the miser. Like, there's so many, but they're really aspects of being, and the parts of those are still within us. They could be dominant, and they could be a shadow aspect too. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to draw. Hmm, You know what? I'm going to draw one card right now. And the guide said this is a card for all of us to take time and reflect on. So this is something else you could do over the weekend, of one of the archetypes, one like a past life that you might have had, or something that's active in you now that needs a little reflection. They said we could all look at the same card. Now I haven't looked at it yet. Oh, what's the mentor? Isn't that cool? And the light attribute is passing on wisdom and refining a student's character. The shadow attributes, this is so faint here, inability to allow the student to move on to the role of master, imparting false instructions. And when I look at that, we are all mentors. We are all role models in somebody's life. And it's really important to remember that, and how we're showing up. And it's not like we have to show up for people in a certain way. We just have to be true to ourselves and be authentic. But just think about your role as a mentor, and think about maybe a past life you've had there. But where are you finding that you're mentoring now? And who might that be? And is there anything you really appreciate about it? Is there anything you want to change about it? That's cool. So I'm going to ask at the end of our talk today, I will do a couple more cards that we can go into the weekend with. So, okay, we'll start with questions here. Okay, my dog Peach, that's a great name, is 11 years old. In the last month or so, she'll be resting or sleeping comfortably and suddenly bolt upright, quickly walk into another room. It seems as if she's startled awake with fear and her pain, but there are no loud noises inside or outside of the house that might scare her. She doesn't make any sounds like whining or whimpering when she wakes that might indicate pain. She seems afraid and maybe disoriented upon waking, and usually stands still for a bit afterwards, as if she's gathering herself again. She eventually lays down and all is normal. I see her probably do this once a day. Could be happening more. She has heart and spleen issues, but any insights on what's happening with her in ways that could help would be most welcome. Well, really interesting. As I was reading the question, I just kept hearing seizure, 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 like a little mini seizure that's going on. And what the guides are showing, it's almost like so something in her brain. And I don't know if it's, in a seizure, it's like everything pauses. And it's what I'm hearing is it's more of a shock to her and it startles her. It's kind of like you're going along and then that seizure happens, and that's what I'm hearing she's reacting to. Um, I don't know if animals can get epilepsy or anything like that, but that is coming up. Might be something for you to look into, and is there a treatment for that? I would also look at brain support for her, and I know she's 11, but I'm not hearing that she's winding her time down here. So looks like anything, is it a mini stroke? It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels more like just these little seizures that are shocking to her system. So I'm not sure where they're coming from, but it feels like looking at brain health or looking at epilepsy in dogs could be really helpful, or something akin to that, if that makes sense. But I do feel like you will find something that will help her. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. Have I found the CFP I'm looking for, or is there an even better fit for me? Mary seems to check all the boxes, and staying with the same institution feels easy. Is she my Robin? Okay. I am seeing yes, 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 and also hearing to tell you a resounding yes. So that was easy, huh? That's great. Congratulations. Okay. All right. As I celebrate my 72nd birthday today, um, now this was yesterday, the 30th, what parts of my life would spirit guides and team recommend I focus on as I move forward on my soul's mission and life path in service to my community? All right, well, this is interesting. Might be a little bit of a departure for you in your way of thinking. But the guide said, we often volunteer and think in terms of service. One, because it's a noble thing to do. Two, it feels good to do. Three, we feel called to do it. And they're not dismissing that. What they want to add in is that sometimes we focus so much on our service to community or to others that it becomes a distraction to our self-awareness and to our self-care and our self-focus and our self-expansion. And so they would have you kind of shift your perspective a little bit and really get in touch with yourself, and in the sense that they would like for you to reevaluate your identity. And your identity is not about your service. And they want you to really become clear with that, spend time with that, and then see where you might want to make changes in your life. So they would like for you to take your focus off of service and community for a little bit and focus instead on what do you, the individual, the I that is you, need and want and desire, and how can you move towards those. And that's not always easy to do. People have a hard time identifying their needs. And and that's often because so many of us are thinking about others and how we can help and be and do. Yet the more important thing is to be very clear with who you are and what your needs and desires are. Helping people is great on one hand. That makes anybody feel good to do something altruistic or help others, but sometimes we do it because we want to feel good. We need to feel good. Now, I'm not saying this is you that asked this question by any means. So, this is more for the collective to listen to. It's more, we do things for others, we volunteer, we serve, and sometimes that's because we need to feel better about ourselves and we need to feel purposeful. And all of that is fine too. It's more be clear about what your motivation is there. So, just a little digression to your question, but they are saying really come back to your sense of self awareness and that I that is you, and determine what you need. And they said this would be a powerful exercise for you because it could also be something you start teaching. So, guiding people more to that inner work of needs and desires. Now, one way to do that, it's much easier to think of things we don't like, we don't want, we want to avoid experiencing, and, making a list of the don't want, so to speak, can lead us to the wants, because obviously the opposite of the don't want is really what we want. And so, even if you start there, that would be a good exercise. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, for 2 months, end of May and July, I've become pregnant, or so I think. I have all the symptoms: morning sickness, food aversions, breast hurting, even my daughter, who is psychic, telling me there's a baby in my belly and it's her little brother. I have muscle tested it many times and always received that there is a baby. Both of these times have been without us trying to get pregnant. Then I take a pregnancy test and it's very, very negative. It's so confusing. I'm wondering if you can shed light on what might be happening. I know there's a baby trying to come through, but this is just confusing on all levels: emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Well, I can understand that, to have all those symptoms and then a negative test. Let me see. I'm asking if this is a false sense of pregnancy. Is it what's going on here for you? So hang on one second here. Mhm. I am hearing that negative test will turn positive. Um, I'm just trying, and I'm hearing soon. Let's see here. But I'm also hearing that this little being that has been planning to come in for a while, the little brother, is very mindful of the circumstances coming into, and uh, wants this to be an easy path for the whole family. So I would say it's very close, but there's a little hesitation on the spirit's part, just looking at the timing. But really, 3 months from now, if even that long, you could be writing in to tell us that the test was positive. There's no doubt another baby's coming. Absolutely no doubt. That is going to happen. Does feel a little more imminent than not. Um, so I would take that as validation of a truth that you know for yourself, and just kind of toss your arms up to the timing in that, knowing this little baby is part of that design, and has some real specific desires of what to come into and when to come in, if that makes sense. But it does feel pretty close. And I would say that's why the symptoms are there. And that your daughter's saying that. Some of it, I'm asking, is some of the symptoms kind of psychosomatic, if you know what I mean? Like, we think we're pregnant, so we're having these things. I know you had the symptoms first. Um, let me see here. But your body could be reacting to a real subconscious desire. I mean, something you've always known is that another child is coming. And so it has been sitting there in your consciousness and yet deeper in your subconscious. And so could just be letting you know to get ready because the time is coming and this is what it's going to be like. But yeah, I don't even know if it's going to be 3 months that the test will be positive. So it's close. I can't say to you today, yes, you're pregnant, or no, you're not pregnant, because I feel like I'm looking like at this watery realm, so to speak, that the spirit is certainly there dancing around, and it's very sparkly, and that always indicates to me a child ready to come through, like very, very close, ready to begin this part of the journey. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of peace, that you're not going crazy and that there's something really is developing and manifesting there. Okay. All right. Since we last spoke, I've had several opportunities come up that would involve leaning more into the intuitive side of my work and offering readings outside of Reiki. I feel both drawn to it and hesitant about taking that step. Is offering intuitive psychic readings aligned with my soul's purpose, or am I meant to share these gifts in a different way? Is my hesitation something I'm meant to listen to, or fear conditioning I'm being called to work through? Okay, great question. I love the awareness you have in this question, the self-awareness. Well, so again, there's no doubt that you're meant to be here in an intuitive and psychic way and offer these gifts. The hesitancy I'm hearing, is there a little bit of fear? A little, but think of it this way, that whenever we move into a new identity or a new sense of self, kind of we're putting an outfit on we've never worn before and it's a little out of our comfort zone, we're always going to feel a little awkward and a little hesitant to walk out the house and be seen, in this outfit that really we would have never necessarily chosen before. So think of it that way. It's like it's an outfit that's going to get a lot of attention, especially where you live in this part of the country. And it's just a little uncomfortable, but it is an identity you're meant to move into and live into. So the hesitancy is one part that. The other part is there more to learn? Is there more to understand? So when you do readings for people, guides will send people to you that need something kind of in your database, for example, of experiences, knowledge, wisdom, and you will find people come to you that speak your language, so to speak, or need to hear what you have to say. And a lot of what you have to say is drawn, from your own personal experiences and stories you've lived in life. And, each year you just add more to that database, so to speak. Now, that self-knowledge you have also aligns with wisdom in the universe. You are more what's the word I want? Capable of finding something you've already identified with. Now, with practice, you will start pulling new information through because it's out there, and it's more you build up that rapport with the unseen world. And I get new information all the time now, and I just love it. That's another reason why I just love doing things like this. There's the world's evolving, spirit's evolving, the universe is evolving, and there's always new information. And I'm hearing you could actually be quite open to that now, too. If I gave you any guidance, I would say just start practicing. Just start practicing and build up your confidence. And you'll do that by the feedback you're getting, by the responses you're seeing. And you'll learn your way with that. You'll develop your own language. People will say that makes sense or that doesn't make sense to me. And you just work it until you land that information that does make sense. But really, practice is where it's at. And I would just start practicing. Give yourself 25 sessions that you're just going to do for free, readings, and see what happens. You can use cards, not use cards, whatever might work for you. But just know your style of reading is also going to evolve. Okay. All right, got 2 more here, and then I'll hop to you guys live. Okay. I have a mental block when it comes to exercising. Insecure, maybe. How can I get past it? Okay. I'm not hearing insecure. I'm just hearing daunting is a word. Like it feels like exercise just feels like too much work, too much effort with what you want to do and where you want to go. And what I'm hearing, sometimes our relationship with exercise really comes to how we grew up. If exercise was a big part of the family, that tends to carry on, through the children, the next generation, and on. If exercise is not a huge part, then really there's nothing there that gets introduced and passed on. So some of it come by innocently, if that makes sense. What I am hearing is to start walking, and that even if you just walked, go out of the house, walk 10 minutes one way, 10 minutes one way, back, that's a good place to start. And that's something you'll start to look forward to. And what's really interesting is the guides are saying you won't believe what that will do for your psyche, in the sense that you're doing something good for yourself. Like you will really feel like you're taking care of yourself or doing something for you. And that's going to boost a lot of confidence. They are telling me, they're also telling me they would ask you to consider hiring a trainer, working out with a trainer maybe once a week, just to have a commitment to something, to show up for something, and then somebody to kind of work with you to guide you on what's right for you, but also to kind of keep you accountable. When somebody else is invested in your health, it sure makes it a lot easier to show up and partner with somebody like that. So if you're in a position you can do that, the guides would highly recommend it. Let's see here. But I have an image of you walking. I have an image of you starting to lift weights. So I think you're right on the precipice of it. And I would say, no pun intended, take that first step. Okay, cool. All right, here's one more. I've had a hard time emotionally with regards to, I won't say this person's name. I can't get this man out of my head. Does my oldest child's father think of me or miss me since we stopped talking? Does it bother him? Okay. You know, mm, I am hearing that he's an avoider. So it's not that he doesn't miss you or doesn't think about you, but it kind of is, because it's like he puts his head in the sand. And, some people, their only way to cope, their only way of knowing how to cope is to, like, I'm just going to put this in a box and stick it on the shelf in a closet I'm going to lock the door to, because something there is too uncomfortable for them to acknowledge, think about, feel. Are there regrets and, you know, wishes for a do over or that would have turned out differently? Yeah, I would say that's in there. But he has put that in the box. So he's more in avoidance and in denial. Now, that's not saying you can't invite him to open the box or give him an opportunity to. Um, you have to acknowledge there's something in you that still has a charge there, something that still feels there, and you have a responsibility to honor that within yourself, and uh, and you also have to remember guides will use each other. Like, his guides might be using you to get him to open that box, because ultimately the guides do not want us to have any boxes in the closet locked up on a shelf, and they want us to face our lives, be with our lives, and love our lives no matter what's happened, what choices we've made, you know? And because none of us are perfect, we all have things we want to, like, cringe or not think about. Yet we're really meant to love all of it. And so the guides can be using you to invite him to open that and look at it and do some healing work around it. Not that he's going to do like traditional healing work, but by facing it, that's healing. By willing to have a conversation or be vulnerable, that's healing. So think about that and maybe ask for a dream of guidance. If it's in your highest and best interest to reach out, and when might a time be? So you can always ask those questions too, but I would say you have to sit with it a little bit longer and really, I would say, come to trust that, knowing that you're meant to reach out first, or that the guides are really supporting you both here. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right, you guys, let's jump in here with you live here. Okay. Morning. Let's see here. All right, here's a question. Just a reminder to ask my guides the financial stock question that I messaged earlier about. Okay. Now, I am going to give a little bit of backstory. This is a stock that this person has that her father was interested in, and he is no longer in the physical world. So, okay. So, one thing that I'm hearing to tell you from your father in particular was that was a stock that he was interested in. That was something he felt in his heart was important to him. He could see the real potential in it. So, what I'm also understanding is that this is not necessarily in your heart. It's in your heart because it's in your father's heart. And your father is saying, for your health and well being, your peace of mind, he understands if you want to sell it, because it does look like it's something that's going to be, you'd have to be invested in the long haul to really see a reward. And that long haul is really indetermined, or undetermined right now. Could it be 2 years? Doesn't feel like it. 4 years? I mean, you might be looking at 12 years. And that's a long time to sit with the uncertainty of something. And your father understands that's not your nature. And for you, it would be better for your highest and best, and like I said, your peace of mind to let that go. And your father's perfectly fine with that. And besides, he's saying there's something else you could invest in that would yield more of a return quicker, instead of having to wait something out on a long haul like that. And he doesn't want you to have that fear of missing out. What if I sell it and then it goes up? That's part of that game with stocks. And there are going to be other things that you invest in that yield quicker and better. So, and that's okay, if that makes sense. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay. See, would you be able to tell me how my vacation with my sister will go? She's very stressed because my knees and had an She's very stressed because my knees and had an extreme arthritic flare. Let's see here. Did I get that right? Is it her knees or your knees? Well, regardless, what I'm hearing, I'm just hearing your sister's nervous to travel to, like she likes her daily routine. She likes being in her space, and to move out of that just feels a little uncomfortable for her. Kind of like she's got too set in her ways, too comfortable in her day to day, and so being outside of that just feels a little awkward for her, a little out of her comfort zone, and what's it going to be like. So again, there's that uncertainty, and but I'm hearing it will end up being nice. And that once she's out, once she's about, you might get a little complaining about the arthritic stuff, but I feel like that's happening too, as a kind of like she's looking for an excuse not to go. But I do feel like she'll go, and that she'll get over that quickly, and y'all will have a nice time. So it feels like a place, you're both going away from home. Um, and I do feel like this place you're going will be lovely and supportive, if that makes sense. Like a good place to go. Okay. All right. A man I dated bought me a ring, professing his love for me, and stated he wanted to marry me. Suddenly broke up with me via text, then married another woman. Why was I subjected to this pain and trauma? Oh my gosh. That's outrageous, huh? I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Let's see what the guides say here. I am hearing that well, not only is he obviously impulsive, I am hearing he is very disconnected from self and very disconnected from spirit. And he feels like he's in this constant state of anxiety, and that he likes to control his environment, circumstances, people. Um, I would say he realized on some level he couldn't control you. So I don't know what that's about. And I would say be glad that he did that. You really, you, oh, I don't want to say this and sound really, really negative, but I would say you dodged an early grave. And that's what the guides are saying. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, that's intense. It's not, oh, you just dodged a bullet. I'm hearing you dodged an early grave. So he's looking for something. And I feel like it's somebody to control, somebody that will be submissive, maybe. I also feel like he's got a thing with money. I don't know what that's about either. Almost like he's a bit of a gold digger, looking to be taken care of, but to have some kind of power and control over it all, if that makes sense. So for you, I would really flip that narrative in your mind. I mean, obviously it's traumatic to go through, but you have to know on some level your guides really, really, really protected you. And what are you meant to see from this? It's really, I would say, your ability to discern and your ability to, I have a saying I often say is don't get caught as shiny, because some people can sweep in and wow us with their presence and their charm and, oh, this is who I am, this is the house I live in, this is the money I make, blah, whatever. And you, it's easy to get caught up at shiny, all of these things they're presenting. But what really matters is who are they when the shine wears off, like what's on the inside. And I would say it's so much fun to get caught up and swept off your feet, yet it's not the healthiest. It's like let that love and trust and friendship develop first, and then allow yourself to just be mad about somebody, kind of thing. So, discernment, I would say, is a big word, and really looking at people um, beyond their shine, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. About a month ago, a shimmering mass, am I reading right? Shimmering mass, 5-inch diameter, appeared outside my window, pearl white shimmer, like a hologram. Is this a specific being or message? Ooh, I bet that was really pretty. Actually, I feel like it was a greeting, is what I'm hearing. Um, and that this, hang on here. I would even say it's I'm just going to say it feels like an alien being, because I was looking at, a divine being, but I was paused there, stopped and asked to use the word alien. So I do feel like it's a benevolent alien. I will say that, coming from, a different part of the universe. And I feel like more and more that's going to start happening. What I'm hearing is that, these alien beings, these other, um, I'm not going to call them realities, because they are they really exist out there in the universe. They are taking interest in what's going on here. And for the people that are open to seeing them and not afraid, it's like they want to come in, and something shimmering like that. Gosh, I can only imagine how beautiful that was. But they want to begin revealing their presence here to those that are open to receive, and for more and more to know there is benevolent energy out in the universe besides, the divine that exists, in that unseen space. They can actually take shape and form. And I'm hearing that's what appeared to you. So, not a message, more of a greeting. I hear there will be more. Um, that was not a one and done kind of thing. I have to ask you, if you're still on here, did you feel peaceful, calm, curious, anything in particular? Because that too is an indicator of the energy alignment there you had with it. Okay. A new job opportunity has popped up outside of my current company. Do you see this as a positive change if this works out? I hear yes on many levels. I'm hearing it will alleviate some daily stress and anxiety for you. I'm also hearing fresh people to meet, different energy to be around, and that you're ready for something a little different. So I'm hearing yes. Okay, hello, new subscriber. Hi, welcome. Okay, here we go. I recently ended a relationship, and my ex and I are both struggling with that grief. It was the right choice. We weren't growing. Do the guides have any wisdom to support us through this? That's hard, because you do go through the stages of grief, even when a loss, is good for you both. The stages of grief are still there. So I would really familiarize yourself with those. There's a fantastic book called How to Survive the Loss of a Love. It's a really old book. You might have to get it like at Thrift Books or Better World Books. Um, and it's fabulous. It's not a typical book by any means. It's not like you read page, like chapters. It's like there might be a poem on one page and something written on the next page. But a man and woman wrote it, both, I guess, therapists. But it's really fantastic. And what it does, it helps you move through all of the emotions you're feeling. It helps you move through those stages of grief. And someone gave it to me a long, long time ago, probably 30 years ago, maybe 20, no, 20. So anyway, um, and this may sound silly, but I had a cat at the time, my world, and he died, and she gave me that book, and I lived alone, with my with two cats at the time, out in California, family clear on the East Coast, so very far away from anything, familiar to me. But she gave me that book, and I remember starting it just bawling, crying, each page, bawling, crying. And but what I realized was, wow, it was pulling everything I felt out, and it wasn't staying within me, and it was actually getting expressed. And that book applies to any kind of loss. So I would really encourage you to get that. Um, I think both of you could benefit from that, and it would help you move through those feelings. Um, Let me see if there's anything here. And I'm not hearing it's necessarily over as far as a connection and a kinship, but I'm hearing the space apart is really helpful. And it's almost like you're being asked to reevaluate your lives individually and where you want to be going and how you want to be growing. And it is important to, when one partner really likes to grow and expand and is a seeker, it's really helpful if the other person is at least open to that, at least willing to be curious alongside and maybe go along for the ride. That partner doesn't have to be a seeker, so to speak, but it's really helpful if they're willing and to try things and move forward towards things. We're always seekers. Those of us that are seekers are really moving to experience the next best version of ourselves. And it is great if you can be with a partner that is open to that too. And maybe the time apart will bring that clarity that's needed. Let me see if there's anything else here. Well, they're saying, really, the guides are into lists today. I'll say that. If you've been on since the beginning of the talk today, they are into lists. And they would have you really list down all of the positive things and all of the things that gave you cause for pause or, brought you to make the decision you did to be apart. And how you heal through it's going to be different than how he does. So let him be responsible for that. You just do your work, your healing. And remember, when people fall apart, a lot of it is because one person is growing, one person is expanding, and so their vibration is changing. And let's just say it's rising. And because they're reaching for that next highest and best. And in that vibration shift, if the other person isn't shifting isn't trying to find a way to stay in alignment, that's why relationships fall apart. And that's any relationship, romantic, friendship, or what, even with jobs, for the person that asked about the new job opportunity, it could be a vibrational alignment that suits your highest and best is presented to you. And so remember that too. We line with people vibrationally. And when we fall out of alignment, it's because one of us has shifted. Either one shifted down or one shifted up and the other one hasn't moved. Um, but remember that too. So trust in that process and know this isn't on your mind or anything like that, probably, but somebody else is out there to align with you on that new level and align with you in that desire to, continue to grow and expand. And remember, we do attract people um, where we're all bringing gifts to the table, and we attract people like you might have attracted him because he saw something in you that he wanted to be more like, um, and maybe just didn't end up choosing it. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Can I ask how I can guide my youngest son better? He just moved in with his girlfriend but is struggling to find a job. I cannot support him much with money, but try to help him as much as possible. Mm, okay. Hmm. Well, you know what? Just be his cheerleader, be that sounding board. I would say try not to offer advice and let him come up with it, because this could be a really defining moment for him and to find himself, to stand on his own 2 feet, to really see what he's made of. And it could be a great opportunity for him to start creating his life. So, if anything, I would say be the cheerleader. Remind him he's smart. Remind him he's creative. Remind him he'll figure this out. And remind him that there's all kinds of support in the universe. And he's got to trust the process and trust his ideas. And even if he tries 10 different things, to stay strong and keep going, remind him not to give up, kind of thing. Um, And if you have to guide him with practical things of where to look for resources, all of that's there. But the big, big, big thing I would say is let him ask. Let him ask for that guidance so that he's really seeking it and wanting it. Um, when he's asking, that means he's most likely going to take action on it. So um, I would say let him find that drive within himself. And then, so it's as hard as it is being a mom, you want to help, you want to get involved. But I would say the biggest work you could do is hands off, kind of just stay back, let him make this attempt on his own and ask for the things he needs, the guidance, the help, the support. And if it's within your wheelhouse to do and you choose to, great. But just let him be responsible and accountable for these next steps, if that makes sense. That is really the greatest gift you can give him. Okay. All right, let's see here. I feel lost in my career and where to live. I moved away, but circumstances have changed and I am torn as to whether or not moving back would be good for me or if I should stay put. Okay. All right, let's see here. Well, one thing the guides say is you definitely don't want to take action on when things are not clear. And so they appreciate you asking this question because they know you're seeking some clarity around it. But they want you to think about how you feel. And if you feel like moving back, they're just showing me that there's kind of a like flat, neutral kind of feeling around that. Something in you, when you feel about staying, just feels a little bit more purposeful to me. Now, will you stay where you are for a long time? I'm not hearing that, but I do feel like this is kind of a stepping stone, a place to be for now. Um, but that clarity is going to come of where you really do want to be. So I would say there's going to be another move, could be by the spring of next year, but be open to those ideas and signs dropping in for you. I'm not sure career wise. Actually, I think that's going to change too. So, and that may be what's leading you to that next place. Um, so, if you're doing anything like actively job hunting or seeking on that front, I feel like that's going to lead you to that next place where you're really going to enjoy being. And if you work remote, let me see here. Yeah, I still think you're going to move to a place uh, that feels more like you. So think about this. This is really great. The guide said, you know, we all individuals, we all have our identity. There are places on the planet, the places um, even in this country that kind of they represent our personality, and they speak to us in some way. It's like um, we would feel at home in this kind of place, or it really suits your lifestyle, but it's really like a more part of your identity. Like, if you're a laid back person, if you are, pretty chill, easygoing, you like to be barefoot, kind of stuff, might be the beaches. The beach areas, coastal areas are more for you. Like think of your identity and how you like to be here on the planet, and then see what kind of place really. Uh, feels like is a match to you. But I'm hearing to stay put for a while, that clarity is going to come. You will move again. I'm going to say by spring of next year. But I feel like there's a job change too, all for the positive though. Okay. Okay, great. Let's see. Extreme stress of a relationship like that can bring on autoimmune diseases and shorten our life. Oh, that's a comment to the other one. You're right. I wonder if that pearl white shimmer is connected to the sacred geometry. Hang on. Yeah, my glass. Vesica Pisces that appeared on my wall last fall. It too was like a hologram, living and not like a still photo. Let's see here. Yeah, very well could be. I am hearing that aliens, these beings, they're so advanced and they do like to speak in the language of sacred geometry. So I would say so. Thank you for bringing that to our awareness and sharing. And when the person did see this, I felt love and honored. It would show itself to me. Oh, see? Yeah, you should have. That's really great. When I ask a question like this, do you tap into it through my eyes? Sometimes unsure how or if I'm accurately describing it. What? Oh, is that with the shimmer? You know what? So when you ask a question like that, I ask the guides to show it to me. And so am I looking at it through your eyes? I would say the guides are just giving me an image of it, of what you saw. So they're just showing me a picture of that, if that makes sense. Um, but I wouldn't say I'm necessarily looking through your eyes, but also, your energy is here, it's present, it asks the question. Um, so Is there an energetic component that you play in this? Absolutely, because it is your question, it is your experience. But the guides, I just trust the guides to show me what I need to see, that will help understand or explain or bring that guidance forth, or the question, get the question answered for you. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So I had to search what the sacred geometry symbol was. Had no clue. Then remember drawing that very symbol when I was about 6 years old. I'm telling you, isn't it just so lovely to have these just connections that you can't explain? And it really, to me, speaks to the magic of this universe, and that it's always around us and it never goes away. So I love all that. So we are finished with our questions today. So I'm going to draw. So we got the mentor card. Let's just see two others. Well, we're getting really good cards, you guys. Guide. Hang on, I got to get over here. Light attribute represents the nature of the divine in life and in yourself. So if it's the shadow attribute of a guide, places financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insight. So again, be mindful of your motives. Be aware of that light within. All right, and the other one is visionary. And that says, hang on here. Capacity to envision what's not conceivable to others. Willingness to proclaim a vision without regard for personal gain. Well, that speaks to the person questioning about doing psychic readings. So the shadow attribute is selling insights to the highest bidder, compromising your voice to make it more acceptable. Ooh, isn't that funny? That's kind of like dimming your light so that other people feel safe being around you because they can't handle that brightness. Definitely don't want to do that. So think about those this weekend: mentor, guide, and visionary, and how they're showing up for you in your life now, or maybe inviting you to be open to them showing up. Okay, well, this has been lovely. Let me see if I had anything else to tell you. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do 2 workshops coming up. So I'll post those in my newsletter. I'll write about them. I'll put them on social media. But I'm going to do a perfect partner workshop. And I only anticipate it being about 90 minutes at the most. But I have a really cool exercise to share with you on how to work with a perfect partner list. And so at the end of that workshop, you actually have like a map of what's required of you, so to speak. And then I'm also going to do a little workshop on the victim triangle aspect, which is the rescuer, the victim, and the persecutor. And that because it is so prevalent in this world, you know, on a global scale to individual scale. And I really want to introduce that concept because once you are aware of it and you can see it, you start changing your habits and patterns, and you can liberate yourself from being trapped in that. And so I'm going to do a workshop on that too, and I've got some worksheets for that one. If y'all are interested, make sure you sign up for my newsletter or just follow me on social media because I'll be doing those, I would say, early September. So August is busy. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. Again, thank you for your questions. And I will see you next Friday. It's what? Is that August 7th? I think it's the 7th. So yeah, I will see you next Friday at 11. And thank you again. Y'all have a fabulous weekend, and see you soon. Okay, bye.